Fear. It is an intensely complex emotion, perhaps the strongest emotion that someone can feel, pushing one to think irrationally, to act irrationally. In a world filled with the worst horrors imaginable, filled with the inhuman, fear is what makes us human. But what happens when that fear consumes you? What happens when it controls you? To whom it may concern, you cannot treat us like this. I understand that many people are sick, but getting shoved in here and separated from my wife is unacceptable. I've been sitting here for over 3 hours without an update. The doctor put some ointment on my bite mark and then vanished. This thing hurts and seems to be getting worse. Monsters. Demons. Infected. The world of The Last of Us is disgustingly brutal. It is a world without hope, without a future, riddled with these grotesque, mindless husks. The infected are the haunting memories of millions, no, billions of people. People who led normal lives, the same as you and I, reduced to nothing but a corpse. They may look human at first glance, but they are anything but. The moment the infection takes over, all traces of that person's humanity are lost. They become these vicious, dangerous creatures with nothing but a single, instinctual goal: spread the infection. This note was written by a patient at the Lake Hill Seattle Hospital, ground zero during the outbreak, before anyone knew what this infection was, before anyone knew how they would die. Most people don't want to know how they're going to die. To have that thought lingering in your mind, never giving you even a second of peace, life would be unbearable. Maybe this patient was lucky to never learn what would truly happen to him, to never fear losing his humanity. Perhaps in the wake of this infection, another disease has seeped its way into every living person left on this earth, one far worse than any normal sickness. Fear. A violent, painful, degrading fear. The infected are the embodiment of this fear, being terrifying monsters on the outside, but representing an even worse fear on the inside. The fear of losing yourself, losing who you are, losing your humanity. Because while the world may have become this horrifying, hopeless mess, there is still some semblance of humanity left in it. To lose that, to lose what little bit of hope we have left, that is scarier than any monster. Sarah is 12 years old. She's a happy, loving daughter to her father Joel, and she's also the prologue to fear in this story. The Last of Us uses perspective in incredibly effective ways, forcing the player to feel a certain way depending on whose point of view we're viewing the story from. So it's fitting that our introduction to the infected to fear is in the shoes of a helpless little girl, Sarah. She is terrified of what's happening, and by extension, so are we.
You shot him.
Sarah.
I saw him this morning.
Listen to me. There is something bad going on. We have got to get out of here. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Tell me, come on. Come on.
Joel acts as our shield here, protecting, comforting, and reassuring Sarah. During this entire sequence, playing from Sarah's point of view, our control is extremely limited. Nearly everything is in Joel's hands, and so we put our faith in him, trusting that we'll be okay. But before long, no longer are we in control of a helpless little girl, but now we are the protector. We are Sarah's shield, caught right in the middle of this horrifying scene. Chaos, screams, cries, terror. You feel it all around you, but because of that perspective shift, it isn't Joel who we fear for here. It's Sarah. Joel does everything he can to get her to safety, but Joel's everything, our everything, just isn't enough.
It's my daughter. I think her leg is broken.
Stop right there!
Okay. We're not sick.
Got a couple of civilians in the outer perimeter. Please advise.
Daddy, what about Uncle Tommy?
We're gonna get you to safety and go back for him, okay?
Sir, there's a little girl. But... Yes, sir.
Somebody, we've just been through hell. Okay, we just need... Shit. Please don't. Oh, no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know. God. Listen to me. I know this hurts, baby. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. All right, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby. I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on. No. No. No, no, no. Please. 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 Please don't. Please.
When I first watched this scene, I broke down in tears. To lose the one person most important to you, to watch them slowly fade in your arms while you're helpless to do anything. That must be what true fear is like. The weight of guilt Joel must feel for not being able to help his daughter, it must be crushing. She was his responsibility. Our responsibility. While only being at the very start of the game, this entire chapter felt deeply personal to me. If even just for a brief moment, I felt like I got to know and connect with both Joel and Sarah. Through my short experience with each of them, I was able to relate to them and understand their emotions, which is what makes this scene so hard to watch. In Sarah's last moments, laying in her father's arms, she reaches out to him. It's not pain, not sadness in her eyes. It's fear. She is afraid to die. It is this same fear that Joel would carry with him for the rest of his life. Ellie is 14. She's a character that stands out so much against the bleakness of this world. Someone who always seems to find the light, even when shrouded in darkness. If Sarah was meant to be a conduit of fear for the player, then Ellie is a beacon of courage. She jokes and laughs and doesn't allow the world she lives in to break her down, to rid her of her humanity. In fact, she can't lose her humanity. Ellie is immune to the infected, immune to fear. For someone who never knew a world before the outbreak, it's this fearlessness, her unwavering heart, that makes her so unique and so likable. Time and time again throughout the story, other characters find Ellie's fearless attitude admirable, and in some cases, even dangerous. We see this from the very moment she's introduced, lunging at Joel with a knife in an attempt to protect Marlene. This immediately tells us what kind of a person she is. Ellie isn't just fearless. She's violent. But she isn't violent just for the sake of it. It's always in the protection of someone she cares about. Someone she doesn't want to lose. Someone like Joel. It's been 20 years since the outbreak, and Joel has become far more bitter, hardened, and closed off. He too is violent, even more so than Ellie. But to Joel, violence is something he's adopted purely for the sake of survival. He's long given up his role of protector. I find it hard to pin down just how closed off Joel has really become. He clearly still cares for his brother, Tommy, and we know that for many years he kept the two of them safe. This makes sense though, since they're family. The only family either one of them has left. Tess, on the other hand, she is an interesting case. Clearly, she's become someone Joel cares about, and yet you get the sense he hasn't fully opened up to her. That whatever connection they have with each other is surface level at best. It's our glimpse into what kind of a person Joel has become, and how his fear has affected him. Joel feels as though he can't truly open up to anyone, to allow himself to grow attached because of that deep, painful fear he carries with him. The fear of loss. So he made a choice to hide that fear behind this facade of cynicism and of violence. It's this dynamic between Joel's bitter outlook on life and Ellie's hopeful optimism that makes the relationship such a compelling journey of shared experience, emotion, and grief. Joel wants nothing to do with Ellie. He hates the idea of risking his life for this random little girl he just met. But it goes beyond just the danger of it all. There's this moment near the start of the game that shows us exactly why Joel is so hesitant to take Ellie. It's a quiet, simple scene, yet it says so much.
What are you doing?
Killing time.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I am sure you will figure that out.
Your watch is broken. You mumble in your sleep. I hate bad dreams.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I've never been this close to the outside. Look how dark it is. Can't be any worse out there. Can it?
What on earth do the Fireflies want with you?
That moment when Joel wakes up and looks out the window to see what Ellie sees, and she begins to open up to him a bit, you can see Joel turn away once he notices what's happening, almost restraining himself. He can't reciprocate here, and it's because of that watch. A small, minor detail that tells us everything. Joel carries the weight of Sarah's death with him everywhere he goes. There's another scene a little while later, just after they make it out of the zone and find out about Ellie's immunity, where Joel argues with Tess about going through with their plan. He tries to find every excuse not to take Ellie, because he knows what will happen if they do.
Whatever happened to me is the key to finding a vaccine.
Oh, Jesus.
It's what she said.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Hey, fuck you, man. I didn't ask for this.
Me neither. Tess, what the hell are we doing here?
What if it's true?
I can't...
What if, Joel? I mean, we've come this far. Let's just finish it.
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
I get it.
It's not just a fear of loss. He's afraid to lose Sarah again. He doesn't want to be responsible for another little girl's life. This moment also tells us a bit more about Tess, and in turn, more about Joel. When she says the line, "I get it," she glances at Ellie, implying she knew about Sarah. While Joel may be bitter and closed off, hesitant to trust or open up to people, he still can. He still has that capacity for a relationship, which is all the more reason for him to be afraid of what he's doing. We see this actually begin to happen not long after this scene. The cracks in Joel's facade start to show.
So is that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out. But man, can't deny that view.
Come on, this way. Hey, let's pick it up. Look, we're almost done. Stay focused.
Yes, ma'am.
Being vulnerable is hard, but it's a necessity to create trust. It's the foundation for building a relationship. Is Joel better off keeping to himself rather than risking this vulnerability? Well, I don't really think he had a choice. Joel clearly tries to distance himself, to focus on the task at hand, but he can't help this growing affection for this little girl. Maybe it's his fatherly instincts. Maybe deep down, he feels that he could redeem himself through Ellie, to do what he couldn't for Sarah. Regardless, I think it's just human nature. We all crave connection, to create bonds. That's what makes us human. But what about Ellie? If even someone as hardened as Joel can still be afraid, then is Ellie truly fearless? Around halfway through the game, after just making it out of Pittsburgh, Ellie has a conversation with Sam about this very idea.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay. Well, have a good night.
How is it that you're never scared?
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body? Scared of that happening to me.
Ellie is afraid. Deeply so. She just hides it, bottles it up behind her jokes and cheerfulness, and behind her violence. She was never immune to it. The truth is, she's been through almost as much as Joel. She knows what loss feels like, what abandonment feels like. The cordyceps has been inside of her Since she was born, it grew alongside her. She's always carried that fear with her, and it's been slowly eating away at her for her entire life. Ellie is just a little girl who's been forced to suffer and sit helplessly as she watches her innocence be ripped away from her. It isn't fair what she's been through, but somehow she still clings on to hope. And so it's not the terrified, helpless little girl that people see, but rather her bravery. But you can't hide your fears behind a facade forever. They can only be bottled up inside for so long before they consume you.
What the hell? Shit, he's turning! That's my fucking brother! Screw it!
Shit!
Ellie? Ellie, are you alright?
Oh my god.
Sam?
Before it's too late.
Sam? Henry? Ellie, stay there. Henry? What have you done? I'm gonna get that gun from you, okay? Oh, okay, easy.
This is your fault.
This is nobody's fault, Henry.
It's all your fault.
Henry! Henry, no!
Oh my god.
The Last of Us is a brutal game. You often won't go more than a few minutes without seeing either infected being splattered against a wall or people being torn apart by those very infected. Violence is survival in this world. But for both Ellie and Joel, it's become more than that. They each seem very different on the surface. One is a tired, stubborn old man who lost everything during the outbreak. The other, a little girl who has never known a family, and who grew up in this dull, decrepit world. But deep down, they're a lot more alike than they know. Each of them have lost people they cared about, and each carry with them a fear that never leaves. This shared fear is part of what brings them together, but perhaps most importantly, is what they both hide their fear behind: violence. However, for Joel, rather than violence for the sake of survival, it's different now. Now, it's to protect. Just like how we were once Sarah's protector, now we are Ellie's. We feel that same obligation, that same responsibility once again, but actually have the power and agency to act on it. So, we protect Ellie. Something that I think makes this relationship feel so natural and organic is not only their shared fears, trauma, and experiences they have throughout the game, but also how there isn't any one moment where suddenly they care about each other. It happens slowly over the course of hundreds of small, insignificant moments. These moments all just keep building and building until you have these two characters that have suffered so much find comfort and joy in each other. They both fill that void in the other, and as a player, you feel that connection too. You want to protect Ellie. But Joel and Ellie's journey comes to a halt once they reach Wyoming and find Tommy, Joel's brother. Despite their growing bond, or perhaps because of it, Joel insists on handing Ellie off to Tommy, for him to take her the rest of the way to the Fireflies. This is the pivotal moment where each of our main characters' fears collide.
Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk, it's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area.
Oh,
better
fuck
than-
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
Ellie refuses to be abandoned, to be left alone. But Joel refuses to lose someone he's grown to care for. He doesn't want to show it. He can't say it, but the truth is that Ellie has become so important to him that he cannot lose her. Not again. It's what Joel was afraid of since the start. After this scene, there's this quiet kind of breather. A pause where they all ride back to Jackson on separate horses. It's a peaceful moment for the player to really just take in what happened, and wonder where things will lead from here. Them being on separate horses is symbolic of this rift that's torn between Joel and Ellie. They are going their separate ways. But upon reaching Jackson, Joel has made up his mind. His bond with Ellie has grown even stronger than his fear of losing her. And so, he decides to take her. This brings us to the latter half of the game, where their relationship is truly tested, when they must face their fears head on. Ellie came so close to being abandoned by Joel, only to be left truly alone immediately after they leave Jackson. The winter segment is maybe the scariest part of the game. You've been in the shoes of Joel for the whole game, this deadly, imposing presence, but now you play as Ellie, completely by yourself. You genuinely feel more vulnerable, weaker. Joel is incapacitated, close to death, and the moment Ellie thinks she may get some medicine to help him, she's captured, thrown in a cage completely helpless. But Ellie doesn't give in to her fears so easily. Instead, she resorts to violence. The game has you on the run, desperately trying to make it back to Joel, killing anyone that gets in your way. It eventually leads to this horrific climax in a burning building, as Ellie's fear of abandonment turns into something far worse.
Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's me! It's me! It's me! Look! It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay.
This violence isn't for the sake of survival, nor is it to protect anyone. This is Ellie letting out everything bottled up inside. Her trauma, her pain, her suffering, her hatred. In this moment of pure agony, Ellie's humanity begins to slip away. She's losing herself. The only one who can save her is Joel. But Joel isn't saving Ellie from David here, or any of the other cannibals. He's saving her from herself. There's this really small but beautiful detail here that can be easily missed. Back at the beginning of the game, when Joel first lays Sarah to bed, he says these words.
Good night, baby girl.
Here, as Joel saves Ellie, for the first time, he calls her the same thing. After a year of travel, a year of hardship, they somehow survive and finally make it to Salt Lake City, where the Fireflies are. They have been through hell together and have grown inseparable. You spend hours of game time getting to know and connect with both of them, and it all just makes what happens here so heart-wrenching. When Joel learns that in order to make a cure, Ellie would have to die in the process, he feels betrayed. After everything they've fought for, everything they've suffered through, everything we've suffered through, Joel's greatest fears have been realized. The memory he's carried with him ever since the outbreak. Joel will not lose Sarah again. So, he saves her. A man too broken, too scared to go through that again, to lose his little girl. Joel doesn't see any other option here. He has to do this. There's a quote from the brilliant Troy Baker, the actor who plays Joel, that I can't stop thinking about here. Someone said Joel could have saved the whole world, and I've always felt that he did. It's just that that whole world was the little girl. I was afraid. Afraid The Last of Us Part 2 wouldn't live up to the first game. Afraid I wouldn't enjoy it. I knew it was polarizing. I knew it was controversial. I know some call it a masterpiece, and others a disappointment. But there was nothing to be afraid of. Life in Jackson is picture perfect. A 4-year time jump does so much to show just how far they've come, and how much has changed. Jackson is almost its own character. It's developed. It's grown since we last saw it. But most importantly, it deeply contrasts the world we grew used to in the first game, being this complete safe haven protecting everyone from the horrors of the outside world. Why would anyone have anything to fear here? Ellie has finally found a family and a purpose. Both her and Joel have become pillars of this thriving community. There's parties and movie nights, tattoos and coffee. Even the threat of the infected has been drastically minimized. Clearing them out on patrols has become just another daily occurrence, just part of the job. This is all very clearly intentional on the writer's part. Jackson is a way to contrast just how bad things are going to get. Because, unbeknownst to Ellie, or anyone else, a storm is brewing. This peace is temporary.
Joel, fucking get up! Please stop! Please don't shoot! Joel, please get up! No!
Ellie was always afraid of one thing more than anything: being a lone survivor. Being abandoned. There have been so many times she came so close to losing Joel, but by some miracle, they always made it out. This time, there are no miracles. Forced to watch the person she cares the most for, the person who has become a father to her, be tortured and beaten to death in such a disgustingly brutal way, all while she lays there completely helpless. It's Joel losing Sarah all over again. This is Ellie's worst fears being realized. But unlike Joel in that hospital, she can't fight back, and there's nowhere to hide her fear. After this painstaking journey across the country, after finally getting a chance at a normal life, getting to live as a family, it's all ripped away from her. What happens when a person goes through something like that? When they're forced to stare into their worst, most vile fears, to live through them in every gruesome detail, to lie there utterly powerless. For Ellie, there's only one thing she can do. She simply turns to what was always there, the thing she would always resort to in the face of any kind of danger, in the face of fear. Violence. But this time, there is no fear being bottled up inside, hidden behind that violence. That fear has been transformed, mutated into something far worse. The only thing hidden behind her violence now is anger, hatred, revenge, and Joel isn't there to save her anymore. Ellie immediately throws herself into this crusade of violence because it's all she's ever known, because she's lost any sense of purpose. I think it's certainly partially due to her nature, growing up in such a desolate environment, but in some twisted way, maybe a bit of Joel's violent tendencies rubbed off on her. It's sad. As much as Ellie wants this, as much as we want this, is this what Joel would have wanted? Ellie's mind cannot be changed. She cannot be convinced. She has just one single driving thought: kill Abby. Take everything from her, make her pay. With every kill, every inch closer to reaching that goal, Ellie becomes more and more vicious, more violent. No matter what happens to her, how much she may begin to falter or question if this is where she should be, all she sees is that image. Every moment of comfort, every second of peace is torn away with the brutal reminder of why we're here. This is Ellie's drive. This is our drive. Ellie's fear was a constant in part 1. It informed everything she did, everything she wanted. But now we have an Ellie that is entirely fearless. No facade this time, nothing to hide. And it's destructive. She's throwing herself into these situations with complete disregard for her own life. Ellie has a journal. While playing, we can actually read through this journal as she writes down her thoughts and inner turmoil. We can get a clear glimpse into her headspace. There's somber, graphic lyrics, sketches of Joel. We learn she's been struggling to eat, to sleep. She can't bring herself to draw Joel's eyes in these sketches. She can't even write down his name. These are all clear signs that Ellie is depressed. But it's worse than just surface-level depression. Ellie is suicidal. The weight and guilt she's built up from everyone she's lost has led her to devalue her life so much that when she learns the truth about what Joel did in that hospital, when she learns how she was meant to die that day, she hates him for it. It shatters her. How unfair must her life have been for her to believe that her only purpose in life is her death? And that revelation only adds more to the weight of her guilt. The weight of the entire world. Ellie has become truly lost in the darkness, and the only light she had is gone now. At the end of part 1, Joel says these words to Ellie.
No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear
but
to
it's-
me.
To find a reason to fight is to find a purpose to keep living for the sake of those around you. But what Ellie is fighting for isn't to live. To her, the purpose she had was lost at that hospital, and the only other semblance of a purpose she had was found in Joel. But now she has nothing. This twisted lust for revenge is nothing more than a death wish, and yet it still drives her forward. She wants to avenge Joel, even if it costs her her own life. Seattle is Ellie's Salt Lake City. This is her hospital. But Joel did what he did out of fear, and Ellie is fearless. It's at this point where Ellie realizes what she's doing. She sees the path ahead and where it will lead her. We've seen it before, but only in glimpses. Ellie is losing her humanity, losing what makes her Ellie. The joy, the laughter, the annoying puns and constant teasing. Her capacity for relationships. Joel did a horrible thing, but he never lost himself in that process. He held on to his humanity because of his connection with Ellie, because he feared for her. It's at this point where we start to second guess this whole revenge crusade. Maybe it isn't worth it. Ellie is already such a tragic character, and you can't help but feel terrible for her. Maybe this isn't what Joel... Ellie will not stop here, and so she continues down this path. But there's only one outcome.
Tell me where Abby is. Where the fuck is she?
One of the most common criticisms of Part 2 is its structure. To kill off not only such a likable character, but the main character of the entire first game, only to then have you play as his killer for 8+ hours, nearly half of the entire game. When this switch up first happened, I dreaded it. It was obvious what they were trying to do here. The attempt to make you feel sympathetic towards Abby is so heavy-handed, I wanted to reject it. I figured there was no way that this simple trick would work on me. I despised Abby, and I didn't want to see this other perspective. I didn't want my enemies to be humanized. And the game knows this. It knows nobody is going to enjoy playing through this segment. It knows it may lead some to drop the game entirely. And that's the whole point. So let's give Abby a chance then, and ask ourselves, what is Abby afraid of? What makes this monster human? It's a fairly difficult question, and something we sort of have to imply, as we're never really given any clear answer. At least, not in the same way Joel or Ellie's fears are made clear to us. The only thing that we do get is a very surface level fear. Heights. Abby is terrified of heights. She's afraid of falling. And knowing this, we may just be able to discern Abby's true fear. It isn't just falling, but falling too far. Losing her humanity. The one thing Ellie has become numb to, the one thing she should fear most, is Abby's worst nightmare. During this half of the game, we get to see the scene where Abby kills Joel again, but now it's from her perspective. The look on her face as she finally finishes it tells us everything we need to know. there is no satisfaction in revenge. There is no clarity, no fulfillment. All Abby feels here is emptiness. Just the same as what's happening to Ellie, in enacting her revenge, Abby too has lost a part of herself. She's afraid she's fallen to a depth of no return, and it leads us to her story during these 3 days. Abby wants nothing more than to feel whole again, to find redemption. Redemption is a curious thing, for one to be cleansed of whatever heinous actions they might have done, to be forgiven. But there is no clearly defined form of it. Redemption is something that can only be achieved in the eyes of another. Joel did something arguably far worse than what Abby did. Yes, Abby tortured and maimed Joel, but Joel murdered dozens of innocents, and in doing so, doomed the entire world by destroying the only chance at a cure. And yet, somehow we can still find it in ourselves to forgive him. Maybe we could do the same for Abby. Despite my initial dread and apathy for her, I continued her story. I watched as she grappled with what happened to her at that hospital. How she lost the one person closest to her, just like Joel did. I watched her relentless endeavor to try and find some semblance of peace or reconciliation for what she's done. And as she began crossing that bridge, confronting her fears head on, risking her own life to save not just someone who she just met, but one of her enemies, I realized something. I was afraid. Afraid for Abby. By showing Abby's desperate clinging to her humanity, by showing her fear, I grew to care for her. It didn't matter how much I hated her, how much I tried to keep hating her. Abby was a person to me now, someone I could relate to, someone I understood. Throughout this video, I've been describing the infected as this gruesome representation of fear, both externally as something actually threatening and terrifying, but also internally for each character's struggle with their own fears. The infected are the epilogue of what can happen when someone becomes enveloped in fear, when it controls them. And as Abby delves into the depths of this hospital, we find the apex of fear. Seattle Lake Hill Hospital. Seattle's ground zero. It's the same place where that note from earlier can be found, where the first patients were left to die, to rot away. And they never knew a thing. The lower levels have all been sealed off, to keep whatever horrors lurking in its depths locked away. But in our search for medical supplies, there are no other options. You begin making your way through a series of rooms, all dark and empty. As it slowly takes you lower and lower, the quiet atmosphere becomes this foreboding terror. It all seems completely vacant. Not a sign of infected, despite how dangerous this place is supposed to be. Entering the ER, it too is dead silent. But now massive growths sprawl across the walls. Patients lie calcified, motionless in their beds. You find the door to the trauma center and attempt to open it.
The fuck is that?
This deep, nauseating growl is the first sign of life down here, and still sends shivers down my spine when I hear it. There are a few scattered infected to find, still trapped inside the very rooms they turned in. Some have even been encased into the walls with the spreading cordyceps, breaking free when they sense you near them. In one of the rooms, another note can be found left by an MD of the hospital. It reads, "Steven, I can't keep doing this. I know I'm just supposed to run the tests and log the data, but I can't handle this much pain. I escorted some soldiers into the trauma. I wasn't supposed to go in there. I've seen what the patients turn into." Every single adult and child that is brought in here with a bite or scratch is going to lose their mind, and we keep lying to them. I asked to go home and was told I need to keep going. Some bullshit about national security. They offered me an office to get some sleep if I want to. Stephen, you need to get me out of this. I'm going to have a mental breakdown. The stress that all of these hospitals' staff were under was monumental. This completely unidentified sickness, spreading like wildfire, wasn't something the hospital could contain. They had too many patients and not enough room. But worst of all, there was no treatment. These doctors, sworn to help those in need, couldn't do a thing. So they sent them all into the trauma center under quarantine, completely isolated from any hospital staff and even their families. These patients had no idea that they were being escorted to their deaths. After turning on the power, you backtrack towards the trauma center, only to find one of the most horrific scenes in the game. The doors have been torn open to reveal a massive pile of flesh and growth and blood, body parts and dead infected, sprouting from a puncture in this wall of tissue. What was in here? A trail of blood can be found leading from the trauma center out towards the ambulance drop-off zone, so we follow it.
Fuck did this?
Each door is seemingly ripped apart, bloody handprints surrounding the doorways. Finally, lodged in debris at the back of this parking garage, an ambulance can be found. You open the doors and search for supplies.
Get ready to celebrate.
This sickening mass of corpses is known as the Rat King. This name is derived from what can happen to a group of rats when confined in a small space with each other. Their tails can become intertwined, creating this tangled web of rats. They usually live only for a short while, attempting to survive as one massive being. But they eventually will starve. This is what happened to those victims locked away in the trauma center. Likely dozens of patients slowly losing their minds. It makes you wonder if what Sam said about the infected is true. Does one truly die when they become infected? Or are you still in there? Just trapped inside this husk you have no control over, forced as an audience to your own disgusting appetite for flesh. It would be torture. And to be one of the infected in this room, locked away for decades, slowly being molded into this voracious monstrosity. Fear is not a word that could do that justice. And neither is Abby's fight against this thing. The Last of Us has many horror elements, and certainly has some frightening segments throughout both games. But I wouldn't really consider either an actual horror game. But this was different. Nothing was as heart-pounding as this fight. Sprinting through all these hallways and tight corridors as it's right behind you, and being forced to make a stand against it, frantically trying to keep your distance as you slowly whittle down its health. It solidified my sympathy for Abby as a character, actually wanting her to survive and escape from this monster. How could she be a monster compared to this thing? And it only made the culmination of this story that much harder to sit through. The theater fight is great, not only pitting each of the protagonists against each other, but keeping you in control of Abby, fighting against Ellie. Two sides you've grown attached to that have each taken so much from the other. I don't want either of them to die. And yet, some part of me still wants Ellie to win, to finally take her revenge. After all, She's the one I've known for the longest, the one I've known from the start. But we've seen what this unending thirst has led to. It's changed her. Ellie isn't that same little girl anymore. This mental conflict, the constant back and forth, creates this wall between the audience and the characters. After everything, we don't want what they want anymore. And so that final decision by Abby to spare Ellie is both satisfying and relentlessly disappointing. Not disappointing because of her decision, but because of our indecision, our conflict. But perhaps it's for the best, to stop the fighting, to let go, to just go home. If the game ended here, it would be serviceable. It would work. In Ellie being spared, she could realize what this journey has done to her, and those she cares about. Maybe she could finally find peace. It makes sense why Abby would make the decision she did. She has already been down that path of bloodshed, and it's become unbearable. She is terrified to lose what's left of her, and what she may become. It is her greatest fear. But Ellie is fearless. Ellie and Dina's farm is isolated. While being near Jackson, it's cut off, far enough away that the peace and joy provided by the town simply can't reach this far. It's peaceful, yet alone. Sad. This is how Ellie feels. This farm is where she should stay, living peacefully with a family. But she still can't get that image out of her head. Deep down, Ellie still wants her revenge. It's this twist that really made Part 2 stand out for me. For Ellie to still struggle so much with her depression and her violent nature, it's undeniably human. It is a tragic irony then that the smallest bit of humanity she has left is the same part of her that simply wants to throw it all away. The Ellie we play as in Santa Barbara is the most far gone she's been. We feel distanced from her. She's let her fear become mutilated into this all-consuming hatred, to the point where she's willing to give up on everything she has left. The near picture-perfect life she could have had is abandoned. She can't live with herself if she just does nothing. So she finds Abby once again. And in what can only be described as an inhuman, excruciatingly painful sequence, Ellie gets what she wants, and they fight. It goes on for so long, both of them covered in blood and bruises, chunks of flesh being ripped away. As I sat there, letting it all unfold, it was one of the hardest things I've had to watch. Even aside from feeling sympathetic for Abby, it was Ellie who I was most worried for. It seemed like this was it. This was the point of no return. The things she's done, the person she's become. What humanity is left? Is she still in there somewhere? Forced to be an audience to these harrowing actions? Ellie let her fear take control of her, and in doing so, that emotion ceased being fear. She let nothing stop her anger and hatred for Abby, and it made her into a monster. But maybe monsters are afraid too. Maybe Ellie wasn't fearless. No matter how much she tried to run from it, to hide it behind her violence, it's always been there, buried deep down inside of her. And fear always makes its way back to the surface. An infection with no cure. Ellie always wanted a purpose, and she believed it was her death at that hospital. But in this last moment of reflection, she sees an image of Joel again. But it's different this time. She doesn't see the painful, miserable memory of the man she lost. She sees her father giving her a new purpose. A purpose she chose to embrace. a purpose to live, the memory of the man she wanted to forgive. Ellie was afraid she might abandon that purpose, that memory. So she forgives. When The Last of Us came out back in 2013, there was a shift in what games were, what they could be. Story games were commonplace, but this was different. The Last of Us was a story-driven experience. It was one of those games that really made people reevaluate what games could accomplish. The word art was thrown around a lot, and the idea that games could be more than just basic entertainment was becoming a stronger and stronger sentiment. So then why? What can The Last of Us tell us about what games can be? And what can it teach us about fear? I believe The Last of Us is an art piece. It's an example of how games can tell truly deep and compelling stories. It tackles so many dark yet important themes, and does so in a way only accessible to gaming as a medium. Games have become so much more than something to pass the time. Some of the greatest stories ever told are found within video games. The player agency and control builds a much deeper connection to the story than that of a film. You are Joel, you are Abby, and you are Ellie. It also allows for the emotions these characters feel to be so much more tangible. One of the most powerful of these, of course, being fear. If part 1 was about what our fears can cause us to do, what path it can lead us down, then part 2 asks what that fear can turn into, what happens when it consumes us, and what we can become. Fear is a dangerous thing. It can be the catalyst for truly horrible acts and thoughtless endeavors. If we let it control us, we may just lose our humanity. Ellie nearly lost hers all because she was too afraid. Afraid of not being good enough, of losing her purpose, of being abandoned. And all because one man was too afraid to lose that little girl again. The end of part 2 sees Ellie return to her farm, and it's completely empty. The inside has been hollowed out, devoid of life, except for one room. Here, Ellie finds her old guitar, the one Joel made for her. She tries to play it, but can't. In a very literal manner, Ellie did lose a part of herself, and in turn, a vital connection to Joel. The Last of Us is a cautionary tale of the dangerous importance that fear has. There is no shame in being afraid. Rather, it's what we do in the face of that fear that truly matters. If allowed to spread and grow, eventually it will overtake us, causing us to do terrible things. In the worst case, that fear can mutate into something unrecognizable. And if left unchecked, if allowed to spread, it will do the same to us. You will become unrecognizable. But fear can also be a source for good. Lev has a really great line while speaking to Abby that emphasizes this idea.
Can I give you some advice?
Oh my god.
Just think about the good parts to fear.
The good parts.
Yeah, like you run faster. You're more focused.
fuck.
You don't feel pain as much. Every bad feeling, your palms sweating, your heart racing, they're all signs you're actually stronger. So when you feel afraid, you should think about how your body is getting ready for what's coming. Only when weak may I carry my true strength.
Fear can give us strength, a clarity of mind to act. It can be a powerful motive to protect the ones we care about, and is proof that we value something far deeper than we know. That we love someone far deeper than we know. We all have the choice to either allow our fears to control us or use them as a weapon, as the root of our strength. The title of these games, The Last of Us, has always bemused me. It can obviously be seen as a definition of the state of things. 60% of the population has either died or been infected, so this is a story about the last people to survive. But I think it goes deeper. Themes of how fragile and precious one's humanity is are incredibly important in these games. We've seen time and time again that not all monsters are infected. The Last of Us isn't just about the last people left on Earth simply trying to survive. It's about those people trying to stay human in a world filled with the inhuman. It's not just about surviving. It's about living. So remember this. Don't be afraid to be afraid, because fear is what makes us human. Thank you so much for watching. I'd really love to hear some of your thoughts on this incredibly complex story, so please feel free to leave a comment and let's have a discussion. And speaking of which, I have a Discord, so if you'd like to have a place to talk about games like this and get frequent updates on future videos, then feel free to join. Link is in the description. Again, thank you very much, and as always, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.